That was a rough one for UNLV. It led to a lot of things, and including a change at the top. Take us back to that game because I have a couple of recollections of the game. But how big was it, for you guys to come up with a win in that one?
Yeah, the best thing about this job is the people and the people you get to work with. The worst thing about the job is definitely losing. And so, for us in building something and starting from the ground up, it was really nice to get the win. There's not one game that I felt like, as I felt in other places that I coached, that hey, that I think we should have the upper hand. I think we got the better players. I think we got the talent needed to come in there and win. And so there was no game last year that I ever felt like we were gonna just outright win, beat guys. And so everything that we did, we have to claw and try to fight. And we ended up doing so in that game, and we were lucky to get away with the win.
All right, so I got a question that maybe, I don't know, you coach have really good memories. So I was out there for that game, and there was a moment down the stretch, you guys kicked a field goal to go up 24-16. During the game, there was like rain on and off the entire time. You called the timeout before. Was that a strategy like, let's see if the rain clears up, let's see if this happens? Was that like in tune with the nature out there? Because it was brilliant because you called the timeout and it stopped raining, and then you guys hit a field goal. Was that purposeful?
Yes.
I knew it. I was sitting up there. I was like, man, I think he did that on purpose.
Yes. It was pouring.
Yeah.
It was pouring. It was coming off and on. But just being in that valley, I ended up going to not only college, but I ended up going K through 6 in that valley, which we call Manoa. It's a beautiful, beautiful valley, and the rain will come through every once in a while. Not so much will it sit for a long period of time. And so I thought if we had one of them nice TV timeouts that we could kind of just wait it out and maybe. Because you'll never know, right? If the ball's real wet, snap, exchange, holder, placement, down, kick. Those 3 points meant a lot, and so you're exactly right.
I'm glad there was a timeout because I was down on the field doing sidelines.
Short sleeves.
That was one thing. It got a little bit cold, but I was wearing all this electric equipment. I'm like, I got to run in the back, and then I felt like I missed part of the game because I was just trying to be covered. That was crazy. That's one of the more odd weather events I've been involved with. The other thing you mentioned, going back to winning the game and not feeling like you always had the most talent on the field. You guys played hard in that game. That was the impression I got because I'm on the sidelines and it was like UNLV player limping off, being carried off, limping off, being carried off, and they had to go super deep, especially at defensive back. You have to be proud of that you got off to a rough start to the season. Spirits could have been broken, and then towards the end of the season, your guys are still playing really hard and physical.
Yeah, and that's part of building it, right? Those are things that we talk about and doing it correctly, doing the right way, and just keep fighting. I mean, that's one thing that I will never let the teams that I coach now going into this year and the teams moving forward, we'll never forget. The feeling of being 3-10, one thing, but the guys that laid it down on the line and really set the tone for what we want to build here moving forward in the next seasons to come. I would never let them forget those guys and what they've done for us. And so, I thank you guys for acknowledging that because it really does mean a lot that these guys do play hard and physical. As you know, this is a tough sport.
Timmy Chang's with us, head coach at Hawaii, a win over UNLV last year. This game is locked in for at least the next couple of years. It's one of the pairings, and UNLV also plays Nevada. So Hawaii is here. I think it's October 30th or September 30th, more towards the middle of the season. I can see the theme of how you're trying to build a program, right? And you want the brotherhood. You guys say it a little bit differently, right? And you want a lot of Hawaii flair and get people fired up on the islands. Even a guy like Mendiola Jensen coming back home, and I don't know how much playing time he's going to get. I don't know if he's going to be, in the 1s, the 2s, the 3s. But how big is it to get even the bounce backs to come back?
Yeah, it means a lot. It does. As a recruiting deal, we really focus on the guys that want to be there. And sometimes guys, whatever path I know I recruited Kilinahe when I was at Nevada and so forth, but he chose to go to UNLV. But coming back and then seeing the guys, as sometimes they jump in the portal, that if they want to come back home, we invite them with open arms. And it has to fit with the need of what our team needs at the time. But I think he has done a great job this summer and what we're doing, and I think he adds value to us. But it is important that, one, we try to keep him home from the start, or two, welcome him back with open arms based on need. And so it does help our program because we've got some talent.
Yeah, I don't think people realize, unless they're around the islands, just how big the high school football culture is. And even having a guy like that who went to one of the power high schools, that helps. I'll give you a good story. I always look for local joints to go eat at when we go on these road trips, and I found someplace, 8 Fat 8, right? And I think it's at Baratane or something like that. And I walk in, and the food was awesome. And then everyone in there is Hawaiian. So I'm like, okay, I picked the right place.
The bao buns were awesome.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, you were there too.
I was like, I was there. I was there the whole time.
Yeah, that's right. The other thing is, we looked up on the TVs, and what was everyone fixated on?
High school football.
On a Friday night, high school football. I mean, it is, like, I got a sense that, man, this is really big here.
It is. It is. One, football is king down there. The fans of Hawaii, we don't have a professional team, so, you got Steeler fans, Cowboy fans, 49er fans, now Patriot fans. You got all these, the young guys are growing up with all these different teams that are being good. I mean, it's exciting. And then you talk about, the university being the only show in town and the only game, and so there's a sense of pride. And then we benefit of how competitive the community and the fans are, and the people that live there. They want their kids to be great. I started in engaging and my kids started playing youth sports, playing flag football, playing basketball, and our baseball fields are like just packed with kids. And they're all not going to play high school, but there's a lot of them that are going to play high school. They're all not going to play college, but there are really some good ones that, and you can make a top list from 1 to 30 on your recruiting standard or your recruiting board and for whatever that is. But, some of the kids are getting recruited and, they're going to big, to schools all across the country. Some of the top schools across the country. But there are a lot. We benefit from having a lot of kids do stay home and want to play for the home state. And so that's something that we've always benefited from. And not just that. I mean, you got softball players, soccer players, volleyball players, baseball players that, with that temperature and being 70 degrees, 80 degrees all year round, they grow up in the community. They grow up on the parks and they play sports and they get really good at it. And there's a lot of really good talent across the country that come from Hawaii.
So to get this going on offense the way you want to get it going, you've got to have someone at the helm at quarterback who's really good and efficient. So when we watched Schrager up close, I thought he was great. Man, he's got a great arm. I mean, you guys went deep a lot in that game. But efficiency, he's got to get better, right? Obviously, the touchdowns have to go up, the mistakes have to go down.
Sure. And I was with our Hawaii broadcast group and we're talking about the quarterback position, and I know I was a 50% guy. Put up a lot of production, a lot of yards, and then we look at Colt, and Colt was a high 60, 70% guy, Colt Brennan, in this offense. And so, the parity between the two, I'm 8, 9 win, 10 win type of guy, and you're talking about 10 win, 11 win, 12-0 season type of, and that's where a guy being accurate and being able to distribute the ball at a high level, you want your quarterback to do that. And I think he has a great opportunity to do it. Like you said, he has flashes of being, of throwing the ball down the field. We just want him to continue to distribute the ball the way he needs to his playmakers.
As talking heads, we always talk about, like, hey, second year in an offense, full off season, getting it ready more. From your perspective, is it installing more plays? Is it just getting used to the plays? Like, what does it mean to play in a second year in an offense and get used to it?
Yeah, you know what? It's about the repetitions. It's about the comfortability between quarterback, skill guys, running back, offensive line. You just got to get that continuity together. You got to own it. You got to take control of it, especially at this quarterback position, especially in this offense that we're talking about. You need those things to happen for that next step and taking the offense to the next level.
Timmy Chang is with us right here on ESPN Las Vegas, Cofield and Company, John and Steve at the Circa, Mountain West Conference Media Day. Another interesting guy on offense is Tylan Hines. Boy, he's fast, and he's small, and he's deceptive, and he's hard to find. How do you get him more involved?
You got to give him the ball more, right? And that's our job. Our job is to put a pitch count on him and make sure that he's touching the ball a certain amount of times, whether it's in the backfield or whether it's in the slot. But the kid can do both. And you're exactly right. He's shifty. He's tiny, but he can roll, right? And you guys are familiar with little backs that have been great here in this UNLV system. And so same thing. I mean, he's a playmaker that we're excited about, that we need to get the ball to win games.
Defensively, when I mentioned playing hard, I thought the D played really hard last year, especially up front. I thought you guys kind of dominated into the trenches. So I started looking at your defensive front, and you brought in some transfers, right? So first of all, you got some transfers from some pretty big spots. Mm-hmm. Cal and Washington?
Yes.
Okay. So tell us about those guys and what that's going to change.
Yeah, from Cal, Patrick Hisatake, born and raised in Hawaii, ended up moving to Oregon, ended up committing to Cal. He gets a fresh opportunity. Hasn't played ball, was injured, but I feel like he's in a good position. There's a lot of development and growth that's going to need to take place and happen with that. The next guy from Washington, Kuaope Hopa, very excited about, was a highly touted guy. I'm excited about what he's going to bring to our program for the next 3 years. Big guy, 300 pounds, has a motor, relentless. He loves to play the game and just thinks a little bit different than a lot of other people. And so I'm excited about that one.
Yeah, John can tell you we're both big fans of watching the D-line, because so much goes on in the trenches, and there's an attitude and a mentality, and there's got to be teamwork, and sometimes it's thankless. So a couple of years ago, one of the most impressive guys I saw in college football was a guy named Forrest Merrill. He spent the last couple of years in the NFL, but he was at Arkansas State. He had come from like Northeast Oklahoma A&M, and I understood why. He was a dude who was 5'11", 340, and he stopped. He just ruined it for UNLV. He just stopped everything from flowing. So you have a guy, Daniel Williams.
Yeah.
You got to tell. Come on, is this real? Is this
sauce? Yeah.
Are we serious on this? Ready, John?
Let me see.
The listing I have is 5'10", 339.
That's awesome.
and he can move, and he's I'm almost 5'10", 339, a little shorter and a little lighter, but I'm getting close. I can't move.
You have to turn on his film and to really appreciate what Daniel Sauce Williams brings to the table. There's probably a couple teams in here that also turned on this film, and we had to go to recruiting, and we were lucky enough to have this guy, and but you turn on the film, and that big ball is moving, man, and he's chasing down quarterbacks, and it's pretty impressive, and he has impressed since he's got on campus. His strength, his size, his speed with holding all that weight at a low gravity.
Yeah.
But he does well, and I expect him to add some value. He's not if we're talking about playing 75, 80, 90 plays a game, he's not going to be a guy that does that. And so how we use him and how we get him on the field in certain packages, it matters, and he provides us that.
Talking Hawaii football, Timmy Chang, last couple of questions. John Von Tobel, Steve Cofield.
Well, I was just curious, because I think if I have this right, Williams is a Texas kid, right? So,
yes.
When you're recruiting somebody, you talk about bringing guys back home, but when you're recruiting guys, from other states, what's that like? What are you selling to them? Is it easy just being like, hey, look, man, it's Hawaii. You come out here and play some football, and you get to live out here for a little bit.
I think when guys look at, and when guys from the states come and they come and visit Hawaii, and that's a whole another vetting process that we have to, because some guys just want to come on vacation, and I don't blame them. It is December, it is January, right? And they want to bring their families and all that, but we have to vet the process, and we really have to sell who we are. But a lot of these guys are looking for opportunities, and that's what we want, and that's what we have for them. We have opportunity to get better. We have a place of growth, a place where, hey, you're 2,000 miles away from anything, and so you come over there. You have these things. We have these things to offer. We have these things to get you better, to take you to the next level, and they believe in that, and so I'm excited. And you get the build of the best Hawaii locker rooms have always been a good local group staying home or coming back in, as well as a good mix of mainland, international, whatever it may be, and coming. And that's why we're building our culture and our brand and who we are. And when they get to mesh together and be one, I think it becomes special.
Stadium situation, I'll call it interesting. I think you guys are kind of still in limbo. I had heard, talking to people down there, that you might expand a little bit. on the stadium you have right now. I got to say, though, the stadium experience when you're there, I don't know how much you enjoyed it. Well, first of all, the food experience is one of the best things.
That was the best
that
part.
was insane. I don't even know how to concentrate on football without the smell of the food from the food trucks going through the air.
The food trucks, the little tables. I got down and got I think 6 orders of skewers. It was fantastic.
So good. It was so good. I mean, it is what it is right now.
Yeah.
So how do you use the smaller stadium as a positive?
Yeah, it was at 9. It got to 15. You guys are going to appreciate when you guys come back in another year probably from now, right? But you guys will appreciate it. They took down the Law Stadium scoreboard. They put it against the baseball field. They kind of took down that side, and they closed off. We would call it the Mackay side, the ocean side, and we got 15,000 in there, and it looks like a little cool event. But the atmosphere, I expect it to be electric, and I expect us to have a home field advantage.
Schedule this year at the beginning of the season, before you get to Mountain West Conference play, got some challenges, right? One, with the way the Vandy game went last year, I don't think you're going to have to give the team much of a speech. They should be fired up. You're going to Vandy. Then you have Stanford at the stadium. You're at home, and then game 4, you got to go to Oregon.
Yeah, it doesn't start off like a cupcake, right? When you lost to Vandy the way you did, but yeah, they should be hungry for that, and I'll show that film a couple times before we play them about who we were and where we want to be, where we want to go. So Vandy will be a challenge in Nashville. You come home for Stanford on a short week. Albany comes up third at home, and then you go to Oregon, and that should be a fun game and a great experience for our guys. And so, and then we come home for New Mexico State, then we get into our conference. And so, things are going to move fast here. But that schedule, like you mentioned, and the teams that we're playing at home and the teams that we got to go see away, it doesn't get easy. And that's the thing about the job, man. It never will get easier.
I'm going to preface this last one in admitting that it's probably ridiculous. I expect an answer to be like, "What are you talking about?" It's as simple as eating here in Vegas, right? So when you come to Vegas, do you look to expand the horizons, or are you just walking next door to the Cal? Like, what are you doing? Like, I got to have Hawaiian food. I mean, you have it all the time. You guys have the access to it. When you come here, you're like, hey, let me go for some fine dining. What do you look for?
That's a good question, because when I was in Reno, and I'd visit with my family frequently, as I've been 5 years in Reno, and this would be a great destination. We drive down, 7 hours or so in the van, and usually I'm doing all the driving, so right. I'm tasting Hawaiian food, right?
Just to be clear, you're leaving Reno. Right?
I left Reno. Yeah, I left Reno. Right. But now that I'm not in Reno, sorry about that. Yeah. I forgot. I wear red now. Okay, so yeah.
Oh, believe me, I want to get. I was hoping to get Jay Norvell on at some point today and be like, "Yeah, pretty good, right? Pretty good up in Fort Collins, isn't it? You don't have to freaking genuflect for Reno anymore."
So, and by the way, what a game last year! I was watching that thing live, and we're getting ready to play our game, but I was watching that thing live, and it was an unbelievable finish at the end. And kudos to the Vegas team. And but when I come here now. Everything's up in the air. I mean, I don't need to get my Hawaiian fix anymore. I don't need the rice. I don't need the furikake Korean chicken and all that stuff. Or I don't need to go down to Chinatown and go get, char siu and duck and all this other stuff that I'm not getting, in Reno. So, I'm pretty open, right? It's like, okay, let's go get a good steak. Let's go see what these places have. And so I think Jay was talking about Piero's.
Yeah. Legendary. That was Tark's home.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about. We're talking about the Tark room, right? We're so-called the old school NIL deals. Where
I'm glad you labeled him that way. He was an innovator. He started the whole thing.
He did start it. It was allegedly happening. But you know what, though? There's so much rich history here. And, I like I said, I got to live, one of the Reno and the Las Vegas rivalry. We were on the losing end a couple times with Jay, and it wasn't a good deal, and so I respect that canon and what it says for, Nevada, both cities, and I love Nevada. Nevada always have a place in my heart. 2 of my kids were born up in Reno, but I was just here on Fight Week last week. I ran into head coach Clark Lea standing in line to get into the UFC fight. and I said hello to him, and my wife got him. But my wife loves Las Vegas, so do the Hawaii people, and so I think we're all looking forward to that September 30th date of getting up here and playing in that beautiful Allegiant Stadium, and hopefully we can have our own Allegiant Stadium sometime soon.
Get the Pineapple Trophy too, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, Coach. Good spot.
No, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for having me on.